his daughter in, and she takes the cases he doesn't want when he's
Tom?
gone.
Perfect, perfect, yeah. Well, that's just,
Tom.
I want to,
Ready to start?
Oh, it is that time.
It's that time.
It is that time, yeah.
It's time to start. Today is June 17th, 2025. The Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is called to order at this time. I need a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes from April 15th, 2025.
Second,
Although, who did the,
I did.
you did a second, who did?
I could do the first. You jumped the gun.
I thought I heard her say that, I'm sorry.
It's like, okay, I heard a second, where's?
It's opposite day.
Okay, so
No,
you've heard,
I'll move. I'll
Okay,
to
you moved to-
approve the board minutes from last
Okay.
meeting.
and Eugene is the second, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Minutes stand as written. If you've not done so, please sign in at the back of the room, and anyone wishing to speak tonight, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Answer with I do. Thank you. Do we have any special requests tonight? Continuance, withdrawals, or waivers? Okay. Then we'll hear the first case, which is 25 LSV06, 11126 East 46th Street, parcel 4001112, City of Lawrence, Zone DA. Let's see. McGill, what's the name? Magia Viva CF Construction Corp. Requests a variance of development standard of the City of Indianapolis Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance 743-3-06, A2B, to allow an accessory structure 6,100 square feet to exceed the square footage of the primary dwelling, which is 1,622 square feet, not permitted. In addition, a variance of development standard of Ordinance 743-3-06, A2C, to allow an accessory structure 26 feet to exceed the height of the primary dwelling, not permitted. And who's here for this case? There's no one? Okay, Renee, so,
Let's move it to the end of the meeting and give her a chance to.
Okay.
See if they show up.
okay. We'll hear the second case, which is 25 LSV07, 12102, 10204, and 12106 East 79th Street, parcel 4033614, 4034189, and 4033615. The City of Lawrence, LCD 6, Zone D2, David and Joanne Sweet, Viva Russell Brown request a variance with the Development Standard Table 742-103-4, minimum lot frontage within a D2 district, proposed 0, required 40.
How about slightly larger versions of the plat for you guys to have?
You want to go?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Russell Brown. I'm an attorney with the Clark Quinn Law Firm, business address 320 North Meridian Street, Suite 1100 in Indianapolis. Also with me is David Sweet, who is the petitioner here. Tonight's request is relatively simple, with a long and not so simple procedural history about how we got here. Much of that history is included in the project narrative that we provided as part of our filing, but it's also included in the staff report that Renee created for tonight's petition. As I mentioned, the Sweets are the petitioners. They bought their current lot, which is just to the east of the properties we're talking about tonight, and constructed their home about 5 years ago. Immediately to the west of the Sweets home were 3 what I call flag lots, which were previously owned by Holy Cross Lutheran. I know I've been around Lawrence for 22 years now, and I know there's been a lot of questions about what was going on back there. I understand it was part of a failed development. The government owned it at one point and then ultimately sold it to Holy Cross. The Sweets purchased that from Holy Cross earlier this year. However, last year, the Sweets and Dr. Mark Durden, who owns property on Oak Landon, entered into purchase agreements, each desiring to control the property immediately adjacent to them. We filed zoning petitions for these approximately 15 acres, which was considered last November by the council. The Sweets request to rezone about 11 acres to the D2 classification, which is what their property is, was approved, while Dr. Durden's request was denied. Upon that request, the Sweets went ahead and moved forward with the purchase agreement and purchased all 15 acres that are of those 3 lots. Their desire is with this property is to slightly enlarge their property, so we're adding a couple of acres to their existing parcel and then create 4 buildable lots near their home. These will likely be initially developed for their family members to build, to acquire and build homes. And the desire to convey the westernmost portion of the 15 acres to Dr. Durden at a later time. Tonight's petition is the first step to make all of those kind of machinations happen. As you'll notice, I did provide you on the plat, but with the plat that was filed and before you tonight, these 4 lots will all be served by Block A, which is intended to be one common private access drive. The design choice was done for a couple of reasons. One is it limits the number of curb cuts to serve these properties on 79th Street. The second is it manages development costs. As this property currently exists, the petitioners could have 3 parallel driveways that all exit out there onto 79th Street, all running about 800 feet from the property line to 79th Street. And that would be 3 curb cuts in about 130 feet there along 79th Street. That's obviously not ideal. We think that creates some congestion, some potential confusion, and challenges having that many curb cuts in close proximity. So the fact that these are all going to be served by that private access drive means, as the zoning ordinance is interpreted, that these properties have no frontage along a public right-of-way. That's the variance that we're seeking tonight, is to allow these 4 lots to be platted and ultimately developed with no right-of-way along 79th Street. So before the plat can be considered by the Marion County Plat Committee downtown, we were required to file this variance that's here before you tonight. So that's a very long intro to what I think is a very simple request. But our request is that you grant a variance to allow these 4 lots to be developed, served only by a private drive without any right-of-way frontage. You'll notice that each lot is at least 1 acre in size, and each has more than the required street frontage along that private drive. If that was a public road, we wouldn't be here tonight. We would be able to build by right. We do believe that these lots and this layout will ensure that the proposed development will be harmonious with the immediately adjacent single-family homes. As previously stated, we believe that having fewer curb cuts along 79th Street is in the public interest, as it will decrease driver confusion and potentially negative auto interactions entering or exiting these properties or nearby properties, and it will allow these properties to be developed in a manner which is consistent with surrounding uses without unnecessary or duplicative impervious surface for those drives. As mentioned in the project narrative, tonight is step 1 in the development process. Assuming we get your approval tonight, we'll move forward to the July 9th Plat Committee to request approval of the plat. Upon approval there, we'll file a rezoning petition to rezone the portions of Lot 1 and Lot 2, which currently have an SU1 zoning classification. We'd move those to D2 so they could be buildable residential lots. And that would be kind of the end of this year-long odyssey through the zoning process. I have not received any calls after we sent out notice on this, but I'm happy to answer questions that you have or others in the audience might have regarding the request. Otherwise, we would incorporate our materials into the record, including our proposed findings, and which are provided in the staff report, and we would ask for your favorable approval of tonight's petition.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Will the driveway be paved or rock?
So it will match the Suites' current driveway is paved, and they would be paved.
Okay.
We're asking for a waiver to not have sidewalks on it, which is a requirement of a private drive under the subdivision control ordinance. So that's the one waiver that we're asking of the plat committee, but it would be paved. But the goal is here, you can kind of maybe even make it a little meandering back there. There are some trees in that flag lot there as well. So try to work around those as much as possible.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any questions?
I just have one out of curiosity. Is Block B, that's going to be sold to Mr. Durden or however?
Correct, yeah. So he'll obtain that, but it has the SU1 classification on it, so it can only be used for religious purposes. So he can't make any improvements on it, but that way he can control.
Is it landlocked?
It will be landlocked until he acquires it, and then he will just absorb it into the parcel.
Until Mr. Sweet?
No, until.
He owns the rest of it that's not marked, that's
Yeah.
on here is what you're saying about Mr. Durden?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Durden owns stuff that's immediately to the west, so those two parcels that are immediately touching there, it won't be landlocked at that point. And until that time, the plat committee will require us to allow an access easement to Block B over lots 1 and lots 2, so it wouldn't be landlocked technically.
And this is going to be family occupied, right?
That's the intention, yes.
I think it's a fabulous idea. I mean, what a great way to raise grandkids and all that. I think it's pretty novel.
As someone whose parents live 15 hours away, I completely agree. It'd be nice to have them closer.
Any other questions? Thank you, Russell. We'll hear from remonstrators for or against the petition. Counselors? Anybody? Neither count? Okay. We'll hear then from the City of Lawrence. Renee?
Good afternoon, Renee Raffla, Interim Director of Public Works. We are in support of this petition. Are there any questions from the city? Thank you.
Petitioner, do you have anything else to add?
Councilor Crone went off mute, so I wasn't sure if she was trying to say something.
Oh,
Thank you for catching that. I just want to say I'm in support of this petition as well. I read over it when I got it in the mail, hopped online and took care of all my reading up on it before I left town. So it was very clear, and Mr. Brown, you described it exactly the way I had interpreted it. So thanks.
thank you. Any remonstrators? Okay. With there not being any more comments, we will vote on this at this time. It is 12102, 10204, and 12106 East 79th Street. David and Joanne Sweat request a variance from the Development Standard Table 742-103-4, minimum lot frontage without D2 district, proposed 0, required 40.
Just for the record, it's 12102, 12104, and 12106. That's a mistype on your agenda.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
The board unanimously granted your request. The board will now hear 8364 Somerville Drive.
And Mr. Sweet, you had excellent representation.
Pamela Molon of request a variance of development standard from ordinance 743-3-06-A4D to allow a 305 square foot deck that will encroach into the 15 feet drainage and utility easement by 9 feet 6 inches.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Ryan, owner of the company building the project, Architect of Northern Indianapolis. So as you read there, we are requesting, this is basically the second time requesting this variance. We built a project very, very similar to this 2 years ago on the exact same side of the street, about 5 houses down, and we're here doing the exact same thing, requesting this variance again. It's an improvement project. It'll make it look tremendously better than it does today, and it's going out pretty much the same distance that's already there. So we're just
It's just going to be longer, just not out for,
It's basically almost the exact same size. Out, as far wide and as far out as it currently stands, really no difference. I mean, we have to go another foot out basically, just to get outside of kind of where their current patio is, but basically the exact same size and very similar to the size of the project we built a couple of years ago down the road.
okay. Does the board have any questions?
The property owner understands that if those easements have to be accessed and remove that
As
deck,
far-
that it falls on them and the city
As-
doesn't repair
Yeah,
anything.
as far as I know, we've undergone all the permitting processes and everything, and I believe that they're of the understanding that they know that's a possibility.
Any other questions?
When was the photograph taken?
That photograph, that was taken probably 2 years ago when we did the first project, I believe.
How's it been holding up?
That's not my deck.
That's not your deck?
No.
It's similar?
Yeah, mine is very, very similar to that, but ours are all built out of composite and everything, so it'll probably, the one that we built probably looks like it did the day we built it.
Okay. Yeah, so with the drainage, have you found anything, I'm looking, I don't see any signs of water damage, and it looks like everything's been functioning.
Yeah.
Have you done any testing for drainage regarding where it's going?
For that
I
site,
don't know if there's any testing to be done.
none that I'm aware of. We dig a few footings, and really it's pretty minimal in terms of how much damage we're gonna do to the surrounding area, just the footings, and then everything's built on top of it.
Okay,
But we didn't notice any issues when we were building the first one. Everything was just like a normal project.
okay. Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. What's behind it? Is that just farmland?
State Park,
Yeah,
State Park.
yeah.
Oh, with the state park.
But we're not going quite to the fence line.
Okay.
We're several feet away from that.
Oh, I see. Okay, those are all my questions.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
I'm looking at
We'll hear from our demonstrators for or against the petition. Counselors, no? Okay, we'll hear from Renee.
Thank you. The city of Lawrence is in support of this. I did visit the site. There was no evidence, even with all this rain we've had, of any drainage issues in the area, so we're not concerned with anything like that.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Petitioner, you have anything else to add? Okay, thank you. With there not being any more for the case, we'll vote on 25 LSV 08 8364 Somerville Drive. Request a variance development of standard from ordinance 743-03-06-A4D to allow a 305 square foot deck that will encroach into the 15 feet drainage and utility easement by 9 feet 6 inches. The board has unanimously granted your petition. Okay, going back to the first case, is anyone here for 25 LSV 06 11126 East 46th Street? Okay. Okay, you weren't here when I swore everyone in, so I need you to raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Answer with I do.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, state your
My
case.
name is Teresa Benson, and this is David Martinez, and we work for CFS Construction. And the property owner that we're representing they have a pole barn currently on their property, and they just want to add on to it to make it just for family gatherings, just a space for family gatherings only. And I think we sent everything in as far as the measurements. David knows more about all the measurements
Okay.
and what exactly is gonna be done to the pole barn.
Yeah, so the lot sits on 5 acre approximately. There's an existing house in there, but they have, the lot is quite large to the back and has like a forest kind of area. So there's an existing barn in there, and he would like to add to it, just for, like she said, like for recreational area, like for family gatherings or something like that.
I mean, what kind of family gatherings are you going to have that requires this big of a,
Well, his family is quite large.
okay? Ms. Board,
So-
go ahead.
Well, so how much, what's the capacity of the existing barn that you
So
have?
the existing barn is only used for storage. So he's got he owns a car shop, and so he's got a couple of storage in there and still has some, because the lawn is quite large. So he's got a lot of equipment in there for that. And on top of that, the addition is just gonna be just for the family gatherings.
Right, so the existing barn is not currently being used for
No.
family gatherings, so you don't have nowhere for them to gather. This is going to allow you to do that. Okay, thank you.
So my family is Mexican, and every year we gather 4th of July, and unfortunately, this year I have to miss. And I know partying in the garage, because the family is so big that we have to find the biggest space we can, so we spread out in the garage and then on the drive and around it and everything. So that I understand. It does seem that 6,100 square feet is excessive. And so, and then when you tell me that it's going to be connected to a storage space because the owner of the property repairs cars, then my mind goes to, well, maybe the alternative use of this property would be to expand the business, which is a totally different process than the one, it would require other things other than what has been presented here. Quite honestly, when I first read it, I thought, it sounds like somebody wants to do an event center. And even with a large family, to invest this kind of money when you may gather, even if you gathered a dozen times a year, once a month, that's still a lot of money. So you have the space, and it's going to have a big kitchen, and it's got a big pantry, and all of that. So I do have some concerns about it. Has the city or anyone explained to Mr. Mejia that the consequences if he tries to use this for any purpose other than what he's asking for tonight? Does he understand fully what he could be opening himself up to?
Yes, yeah, I did have a meeting with him when I initially heard the case, and I did share my concerns with him. It was the same, that the city was gonna think that it was gonna be something not used for family but commercial. But like I said, he's got he's a big family, and they bought a property a few years ago, and they've been trying to save money to build the space, and the space now is a little quite large, so he thinks that it probably is a good idea to enjoy the space and to enjoy the family time.
So if the family gathers and it's that big, I take it they're going to park on the green space that's around the building?
No, we're gonna do some parking spaces in there.
So you're going to come in and asphalt and do an actual
No
parking lot?
asphalt, it's just gonna be gravel.
Gravel.
He already has I believe there's a road there to access to the back, and then we can do like a gravel parking. And there's also a space on the front of the house too, because there's an existing house in the front.
And Mr. Mejia does not live there himself, right?
No, his daughter lives in there.
Why does it need to be so tall?
Well, the thing that the tall for the second space, he wanted to do something like an atrium, basically have a large space. The second floor is not floor and space; it's just like a big atrium, basically, and it's just like something like just like a space in there, just to be looking from below in there. So that basically the second floor is not used for it doesn't add up to the floor space, basically.
How often is he going to have family gatherings?
Well, like she said, yeah, he's Mexican, and he has a bunch of patties and all that, and they also, like the big family, they also have, you know, like a lot of birthdays and everything. So I don't know the real.
I'm like Karen. My concern is if this is going to turn into an event place or a car repair. I do have some issues with this, especially with it being this big and the way they're wanting to do it. So, yeah, I do have concerns, too.
Yeah, and I mean, I know, again, from personal experience, that dancing is a big part. You got to have space to dance. But this is really a lot of space to dance.
Yeah, I understand, and
Yeah.
I don't think his defense. I don't think he's got the necessities, like the financial necessities, to make that a commercial space. He just wants that, like I said, to.
Is it going to be heated? Is it going to be cool?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be air conditioned. It'll have like air condition, and the outside of it is going to look like a pole barn,
Exactly.
and it'll be insulated,
Yes.
and then it's going to have drywall,
Mhm.
and then it's going to have air conditioning and heating and electric and water, and then it has restrooms upstairs, I noticed. Are there restrooms downstairs?
No, it's only restrooms downstairs only.
Downstairs, okay.
Still a
So-
lot of money to invest.
Yeah. Well,
I guess, I'm just curious, so, just curious, what is the size of the family gathering? Are we talking about 100 people, 150,
yeah,
200
something like
people?
that. 50 to 100 people at the same time.
Can I ask staff a question
Well, yeah,
after we finish?
yeah. I've got plenty to ask her, too.
Let me ask, I see this is off of 46th Street. What's that crossroad there?
I believe it's called.
German church.
Is it German Church?
Yeah, the closest is German Church, but there's another road that goes all the way to the back. I forgot I think it's Plums Road, something like that.
Do you know, what is it zoned? Do we have the zoning?
DA, I think.
Okay.
I think it's zoned residential agriculture.
Yeah.
Is it for animals? There'll be animals or no?
I don't think so.
I'm going to wait to ask staff I have more
Yeah.
questions, but.
Well, I'm curious to
That's
see
a
if any
big-
neighbors are here, but yeah, I don't have any more questions at this time.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We'll hear from the demonstrators for and against the petition. Ladies? No?
No neighbors.
Nope. Renee, we'll hear from the city of Lawrence.
The city has a lot of the same concerns that the board has expressed. This property has a primary dwelling of 1,622 square feet. They have a detached garage of 840 square feet. That doesn't count the garage that's on the house. They have two sheds, one's 200 square feet, one's 240 square feet, and then they have a 3,700 square foot storage barn for the business. They're wanting to increase the square footage of that storage barn from 3,700 to 6,100. That is a huge increase. And zoning code allows, it's called a 75% rule. You're allowed to have accessory structures totaling 75% of the main floor square footage of your primary dwelling. We're way over that already with the accessory buildings they have, with the detached garage, the two storage barns, and the pole barn that's already there. The floor plan gives me a lot of questions. The big open space, the chef's kitchen, the huge pantry, those bathrooms and the mechanical room are very big in this square footage. The balcony that they're talking about looks to me, in my experience of almost 28 years of doing this job, as a viewing area for a wedding barn or a place to have, you know, birthday parties for, for the Latino culture, quinceañera, I can't say.
Quinceañeras, yeah.
Yes, that. You know, he said 50 to 100 people in attendance for these parties. When you reach 100, you're required to have a special event permit. So, I mean, that would qualify for this building too. It's a personal properties, it's business properties. I'm really concerned that this is gonna be used as an event center under the disguise of family parties. We had the same thing happen several years ago with a couple other event centers. Where this is located, it's the perfect location for it. It's a treed lot. It's, you know, kind of in the country, kind of, with all the surrounding properties that are sizable. So we have a lot of reservations. Another fact that zoning code doesn't allow accessory structures that are taller than your main structure. This is going to be taller by anywhere. They couldn't give me an exact height of the primary dwelling. They said it was 16 to 18 feet, while this is going to be 26 feet tall. That's quite a difference. And this barn is going to be humongous compared to the 1,600 square foot house that sits in front of it. So we'll leave that up to the board to make a decision. We are recommending denial. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
You know, you were talking, I mean, if this was to, this is for family events. Wouldn't they also have to be like we've got for all the other events around here, security?
Yes, if they have 100 attendees or
Yep.
more, they would have to file for a special event permit. There is a cost involved with that. And for every 50 people, you have to have one officer. So there's a whole another ordinance that's local here in the city of Lawrence that would apply if they had 100 people in attendance, that they would have to go through. I would strongly encourage you, if you decide to approve this, that you put a commitment that has to be recorded, that it can only be used for family events, and that any event they have over 100 people or more, that they will file for the appropriate permit. Would be our suggestion, if you decide to approve, but we would recommend denial.
Yeah. I'll just ask the obvious question. If this property were to get rezoned into commercial, this.
We would not recommend that. There's no commercial properties anywhere near this property.
Sure.
They're dwelling, agricultural, residential, everything around there.
Okay, let me ask it a different way. If this structure were to be proposed on a commercial lot, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, right?
Commercial lots have different zoning requirements, so there's not that 75% rule that dictates sizes of structures on residential properties. So it's a completely different code and situation.
Yeah.
It's comparing apples and oranges, so I
Sure.
don't know.
But I'll say we've reviewed a lot of residential applications, and 6,100 square feet is a lot
Yes.
for a residential house. And so this just strikes me as very commercial.
Me
in
too,
size.
and it feels inappropriate in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Is it 6,100 square feet is the addition, or is that the addition?
That would be-
Along with the existing?
That would be the total square footage of that pole barn with the existing and the proposed. So 2,700 square feet, ma'am.
And I mean,
A lot of people don't have houses that big.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the house that sits on the property is not that big.
May I ask, and I don't mean to
Yes,
interrupt you,
ma'am.
but do we know how, were you aware that, well, let me start with you first now. Were you aware that they were going to put a parking
No.
lot on this?
That's not on the plan.
Right.
And with all the questions that I've asked along the way, that's not been brought up.
Is that required to be added? I mean,
No,
especially
because it's
since
not commercial.
Okay.
Commercial requires parking.
But even if it's residential, aren't there certain requirements regarding I mean,
They
if you
have the
put big
required
gravel-
parking for the residential at the front for the main house.
Okay.
There's no required parking for an accessory structure.
And what about if you were to gravel such a big space?
That would have to be on the plan because I would look at drainage. We're disturbing more than 200 square feet, I'm sorry. So a drainage permit's required regardless, and the driveway would have to be part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Renee?
Yes, sir.
Did you get any calls about this property when notice was given?
So the rules say 660 feet within the property line, so that's only a couple properties, just because there's such big properties surrounding it. So there wasn't a whole bunch of notification that went out on this one.
And I suppose that in addition, well, depending on the size of the parking lot and all that, there's going to have to be exterior lighting there.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are not even on here
Right.
that should be on here. Because, to have family events, you got to have places to park, you got to have lighting, then you get into the drainage. But none of that's put here other than they just want to build this building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm really, I know exactly, this is what we do when my family gets together, but this is like really large, it's going to be very expensive, and the owner of the property doesn't live there. So there's a lot of red flags that come up with this. And even though I'm with you when it comes to celebrating family and everything, but
Absolutely.
As far as safety comes.
yeah, I mean, and if they are thinking, and see, that's the other thing too, if they are thinking, well, we'll rent it out a few times for special events to other people or whatever, and something happens, because they fail to follow the safety and everything else. That's why I say, I'm not quite sure that Mr. Mejia understands what he is potentially opening himself up to. And, maybe, is there any way that if he came in, I mean, he could seek a rezoning of the property, right?
He could.
And,
He could.
Doesn't mean you'll get.
doesn't mean
granted
he'll get it, right,
But I
right.
think in order to propose such a structure, it wouldn't be eligible
I
in
mean-
the zoning.
Yeah, everything around it's DA. We would not be in support of rezoning that to any kind of commercial use in that neighborhood. It's surrounded by residential.
Did you write
And that's my biggest concern about this
Yeah.
proposed barn, is we're surrounded by residential. And I'm really concerned that it's gonna be a commercial use eventually, even if it doesn't start off that way.
Now, if this were a new home, that would be different. A large home to be placed. on.
Right, if it
But
was
this is
an actual residence, and they were gonna, the main house and use the front house as mother-in-law quarters, that might be a different, but the construction that they're proposing is pole barn,
Yeah,
not residential living, really. Even the appearance of it is kind of commercial.
yes.
The elevations that they provided, it gives a commercial appearance. So, what's our concerns?
You said that if we would to consider approving it, that we should put what kind of,
I think you should definitely put commitments that it can only be used for residential purposes, for family gatherings, and that any event that would have 100 or more people would file for a special event permit. Just for security purposes,
Yeah, really. Has
that's a big
Mr.
space.
Has Mr. Mejia himself been in to talk with you?
I have only communicated with CFS Construction. I've not ever talked to Mr. Mejia.
Okay.
Okay.
If this should not pass tonight, I would like to suggest, Mr. Mejia, he can speak English, right? Okay. That he come in and have a meeting here with the city so he can understand what the problems are with this. And maybe if he wants it for family, maybe he could scale it down. That would be, quite honestly, more convincing to us that it's going to be used for family. I understand he has a big family. Again, I know big Mexican families, but it's a lot of space, so.
thank you. Does the petitioner have anything else to add? step up to the mic.
Yeah, for the size, I understand what you guys are saying, that it's quite big, and I told him my concern when because I had a meeting with him when I first heard about the project, and I told him it was kind of big, and he said, well, that's what I wanted, because I've been saving a lot of money for do this, and I bet his business is also doing good, because the concern is quite big, and it's gonna be a lot of expenses going into the building. But I think if it gets rejected, probably we're just gonna scale it down, like you guys said, and probably just advise him to do something more.
So, I have a
More
question. So,
practical.
where have you been having the family gatherings at now?
Well, that I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because I only talked to him about, the project and what his vision was for it, and I didn't ask him.
Yeah, I was just curious, because, I mean, it's places we all have those different events. There's different places you can go to do that, because it's not like something you have all the time, so. But what about, he has a property, what about the thought of expanding your house? I mean, if expanding his house, adding to it.
Oh, so he already had the shed, and so he was gonna add to it, but I don't think he wants to add to the house.
What
Yeah.
you're proposing isn't like, it's not a terrible idea, it's just the wrong place, right? Because it's a neighborhood,
Yeah,
or it's residential.
yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's a lovely proposal, just the location, I think, for me, is really the issue.
Yeah,
And then, I mean, how do you control the gathering? We know family, they just show up. I mean, how you gonna control it? You may say 50 and, the cousin brings the boyfriend, or somebody, how people just show, how would you even control the size of it? I mean.
well, I think he maintains the shed. I went to the site and everything. Nobody goes in there unless he grants permission to either his daughter or to anybody else. I told him I was gonna go take a look at it, and the place all the time it's empty. It's just for storage, like I said, and I don't think it's gonna have any issues with people sneaking in or something like that.
But, and that is the other thing, you say that it's used for storage. Now, things can be moved out from storage, and so then that room can be made a part of, because they're connected, they open into each other, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I believe his vision is, because like I say, he has an auto shop, and he likes cars and everything, and the existing barn, he has, like I say, a long equipment and some cars that he keeps in there, just like the classics and everything. So I believe it's just gonna be like if this is granted, it's just gonna be like to showcase, like basically what he's got in there.
Now, why didn't he come tonight?
That's a good question.
He got a notice mailed to him.
Okay.
You know, when they send the list that we have to do the mailing,
Yeah.
his name was on the list
Okay.
with his address, so I
Okay.
was hoping he would be here,
Okay.
but I
Now,
guess
where does he live?
on Plummets? Is it
Plummets, some-
Plummets Drive?
Here in the
In
city,
town.
yeah, here in Indianapolis.
Yes.
Okay, he doesn't live, okay.
Yeah, it's in Indianapolis.
So does the board have any other questions, or are you ready to vote?
I have no more questions.
We can vote.
Thank you so much.
I do have a question. If it's not granted, Renee explained that we might have to wait another year
Yep,
to reapply,
right, for the same time, yeah, unless you change it.
So
unless we change what, the plans?
Cha-
Well,
yeah,
they still have to
change
withdraw.
everything, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, well, they can't, he's not here.
Oh, he's not here to withdraw it.
Yeah.
Well, they're the petitioner.
Yeah, we're just saying that you could withdraw this tonight, and
They're the
then
petitioner, they really are.
time limits.
Now,
You are the
they
agent.
they can withdraw it if they
You
want.
can withdraw it before we vote.
You want to do that?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
think
better
we'll.
withdraw. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
withdraw, and then
Come
Renee, what we
together.
do, just come back, redo everything again?
Yeah, get an appointment on my calendar, and have to talk to me, and
Okay, yeah, we'll withdraw.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
time.
you.
Good luck, good luck.
With no other cases to hear, the City of Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is adjourned.
That's great.